Right. So petroleum products are very essential to the Ghanaian economy, and whenever prices go up, it resonates throughout the whole economy. It's become imperative now that government finds alternative means and creative means of getting cheaper fuel onto the Ghanaian market. And one of the ways government intends to do this is to barter Ghana's gold for imported oil. Now, this policy has been met with different reactions from different quarters within the petroleum sector. One of the players in the petroleum sector, the Institute of Energy Security, have been speaking on this issue. Nana Amwesi the seventh is the Ankobiahene of Ekumfi traditional area. He's also the executive director of the Institute of Energy Security.
This good for oil arrangement that government is bringing in, using to bring in the fuel, can also distort the existing market structure. It can distort the supply of oil into the country. The BDCs are expecting about 340 million to bring oil or fuel. You are giving them just 100 million. Touch wood. If, let's say, there's a force majeure and government vessel cannot come in, what happened to our fuel supply security? We are in a ditch because the BDCs are importing less than they would have wished to, with the expectation that government is bringing in oil or fuel, and it didn't work that way. Then, of course, we were going for shortage of fuel on the market. And when you bring in shortage, then, of course, you're also getting set to buy the commodity at higher price. Okay, so there are uncertainties at this moment. One can also not tell what the price of government fuel will be. How much did they get it for? Anytime you bring in a middleman in this arrangement, it's a fertile ground for corruption. So we are asking government, who is the intermediary in this case? How was the intermediary selected? What is the experience of this intermediary? How much is this agency or intermediate earning per barrel arrangement?
Nana Mwesi also suggests to government to revive the Tema oil refinery as a measure of ensuring consistent supply of affordable fuel on the Ghanaian market.
We have an existing refinery, Tema oil refinery, 45,000 barrels per day. That can meet almost half of our daily demand. We have a new refinery, Citi refinery, coming up February, March this year, 45,000 barrels per day. When you put these two refineries together and they are working at, let's say, 85% utilization rate, they are meeting almost 90% of our domestic need. One would have thought that you render support to these entities, make sure that tomorrow refinery come back to life. There's a refinery that's been sitting idle for close to 2 years. We believe that it's not in the interest of some group to see Tema oil refinery work. We believe strongly at IES. If it's not the case, the energy minister would have been hard on this arrangement. The president would have been more focused on this arrangement than focus on gold for oil and put value for somebody's oil.
We also asked Nana Mwesi the projections from the Institute of Energy Security for the next pricing window, which begins from next week, and he doesn't have good news for petroleum consumers.
From the market fundamentals, the cedi has declined in value against the important currency. Gasoline price has gone up on the world market by 8%. LPG has gone up by more than 2%. A little dip, less than 1% decline in the price of gas oil on the world market. If you put this together, the conclusion is a price adjustment upward on the local market.
Still on the issue of petroleum pricing, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, they have alleged that the oil marketing companies have overpriced petroleum products in this current pricing window. They say that fuel, petrol, which is currently selling at about 12 cities, should be selling at 10 cities. We got the reaction from the National Petroleum Authority, which is the regulator in the industry.
In COPEC statement, they indicated that in their projections, they use an exchange rate of 10 points, around 10 cities to set the prices. One of the variables in pricing, which is the exchange rate, OMCs, BDCs, that's the importers, they don't use spot rates. That 10.9 was a spot rate. So knowing that they use forward rates, the forward rate which we use for projecting these windows prices was about 13.9, which is way higher than the spot rate of 10 that they use. So even that alone indicates that the expected prices should be higher than what COPEC is projecting. There are other variables in the price build-up in the deregulated environment that you cannot predict. So you always have to make assumptions. We don't know how the assumptions COPEC use apart from this FX rate that they mentioned. So we cannot really critique the projections they've made. But we, as a regulator, one of our rules is to ensure that the consumer is getting value for money and is not being shortchanged at the pumps. And that is why even in this deregulated environment, OMCs and importers, that's the BDCs, are required to submit what we call the indicative prices to us. We review these things and make sure that their prices are in accordance with the prescribed petroleum pricing formula. Based on our projections for this window and the prices we are seeing on the market now, we don't think any OMC is overpricing.
Meanwhile, the National Petroleum Authority has also revoked the licenses of 30 oil marketing companies. These companies have lost their permits for failing to comply with the rules and regulations of the authority on acquisition and maintenance of these licenses. Although government says that the first consignment of the gold for oil barter arrangement will be arriving by next week, players in the industry believe that it will not come soon enough to have any significant impact in the second pricing window. And judging by the increase in prices of oil on the world market and the marginal depreciation of the cedi against the dollar, it is expected that consumers would have to pay more for fuel at the pumps in the next pricing window. For Citi News, Charles Osukumi.